Cold night, wind slicing through steel beams. A mostly empty subway station deep under downtown Chicago. One of those places where sound echoes longer than it should, where footsteps feel like warnings, and where the wrong decision can change a life forever. A black man in his late 30s stood near the yellow safety line. Tall, calm, hands in his pockets. He looked like any other tired commuter trying to get home, but he wasn't. He was someone no officer in that station should have touched. Someone protected by federal law. Someone armed with authority far greater than the badge of any local cop. And yet, 2 white transit officers spotted him, watched him, closed in on him, then made a mistake that would destroy their careers in less than 20 minutes. This is the story of the night 2 cops assaulted an undercover U.S. Marshal and didn't know it until it was too late. Stay with me, and if stories like this matter to you, subscribe and share. It was a cold weekday night in Chicago, the kind where you could see your breath even underground, the kind where the city felt tired. Even the trains groaned when they entered the station. The platform was nearly empty, just a few scattered commuters, a man pacing with earbuds, a woman scrolling her phone, and a black man standing alone near the center of the platform. His name was Marcus Hale. No one knew it that night. No one recognized him. No one saw the badge clipped inside his jacket, or the small microphone sewn into the collar of his coat. Marcus was a U.S. Marshal, working undercover, on assignment, tracking a fugitive who frequented the trains at night. He wasn't here by accident. Every move he made mattered. He looked relaxed, but he wasn't. His eyes tracked every shadow, every doorway, every person who stepped onto the platform. And yet, he didn't see the danger coming from the 2 people he least expected. The transit officers stood at the far end of the station. Officer Kent, Officer Rourke, both white. Both were frustrated with a slow shift. Both are looking for something to do, or someone to blame. Their eyes landed on Marcus, and stayed there. Kent nudged Rourke. "Hey, you see him?" Rourke squinted. "Yeah, he looks off." Off. That one word had started 1,000 bad encounters. They started walking toward him, slow at first, then faster. Their radios crackled against their jackets. Their boots clapped against the concrete. Marcus didn't turn his head, didn't acknowledge them, didn't move. He'd learned long ago to let an approaching threat reveal itself fully. Intervene too early, and you lose control. Intervene too late, and you lose everything. The officers got close. Too close. Kent barked loud enough to make the commuters jump. "Hey!" "You match the description. Stop right there." Marcus slowly turned. Brows lowered. Voice steady. "Description for what?" Kent didn't answer. Rourke stepped in. "Hands where we can see him. Now!" Marcus exhaled. Not fear. Not anger. Just disappointment. He showed his hands. Palms out. Controlled. Measured. "I'm just waiting for the train," he said. "I work downtown. I'm heading home." But they weren't listening. And they weren't interested in listening. Kent grabbed Marcus's arm. Hard. Too hard. Rourke moved behind him, blocking his movement, blocking his exit. Marcus's coat shifted slightly. The officers didn't see the badge inside, didn't see the federal ID, didn't see the firearm holstered legally under his jacket. All they saw was a black man alone in a station at night. Kent shoved him. Marcus stumbled back, hitting the cold tile wall. Air left his chest in a sharp gasp. Rourke pushed his forearm across Marcus's shoulders, pinned him, breath hot with tension. "Stop resisting." Rourke barked. Marcus wasn't resisting. He hadn't moved. Not an inch. Commuters froze. A few backed away. Others lifted their phones. One recorded with trembling hands. Marcus kept his voice low. "Even, I'm going to say this once. You need to take your hands off me." Kent scoffed. "Oh yeah? Or what?" The arrogance in his tone lingered in the air. Thick, reckless, ignorant. Marcus swallowed his urge to flash his badge. Revealing his identity too early could ruin the operation he was actively working. He needed to calculate every move. He needed to stay in control. Yet the officers escalated. Kent twisted Marcus's arm behind him. Rourke pushed harder. Their voices grew louder. Their confidence grew stronger, until a voice cut through the station with a force that halted every sound. A voice from the stairwell. A voice they should have recognized immediately. "Officers! Step away from him." The shout echoed, boomed, shook the concrete walls. The officers froze. Marcus didn't flinch. Boots thundered down the stairs. Heavy, certain, official. 3 figures appeared. Dark jackets, tactical vests, federal patches. Authority in every step. The lead agent was a woman. Sharp eyes, calm expression, voice like a command wrapped in steel. She held up credentials with a hard snap. United States Marshal Service. That man is an undercover marshal on active duty. The officers went pale. Kent's grip loosened. Rourke stepped back, so fast he almost tripped. The agent stepped between them and Marcus, cutting the distance like a blade. "You just assaulted a federal officer," she said. "No cause. No investigation. No lawful stop." Commuters moved closer. Phones up. Some recording. Some whispering. "Is this real? What's happening? Oh my God!" The agent didn't look at them. Her eyes stayed on the officers. "You too, hand behind your backs." Kent stammered. "Wait, hold on. This is a misunderstanding." Rourke tried to explain. He looked suspicious. "That's not a crime," the agent snapped. "Put your hands behind your backs. Now." They complied. Slow, defeated, terrified. Marcus finally let out a long, controlled breath. The agent turned to him. "You good?" Marcus nodded once. "Yeah, I'm okay." She gave him a look. The kind only someone who's been in this job long enough can give. A mix of frustration, relief, and silent understanding. Behind them, commuters applauded. Quiet at first, then louder. Some even shouted, "Hold them accountable. About time." Marcus straightened his coat, rolled his shoulders, reclaimed his space. This night was far from over. The fallout hadn't even begun. But one thing was clear. Justice had stepped onto that platform, and it arrived right on time. Subscribe and share. The applause still echoed across the cold subway platform. It wasn't loud. It wasn't chaotic. It was the kind of applause that comes from people who just watch something wrong finally get stopped. Marcus didn't smile. He didn't celebrate. He simply stood still, letting his heart return to its steady rhythm. He'd been in worse situations. He'd been in more dangerous ones. But this one felt personal in a way the others didn't. Not because of the force used on him. Not because of the humiliation. Not even because of the arrogance behind it. It was because he'd been working on an active case, and these officers had blown a hole straight through it. The lead marshal, Agent Simone Avery, watched him for a moment. She knew that look, knew that kind of anger. The contained kind, the professional kind. The kind that comes from knowing you did everything right, and still got attacked for existing. She stepped closer, lowered her voice. "Marcus, do you want medicine?" He shook his head. "No. Let's finish this." Simone nodded and turned toward the 2 officers now cuffed at the center of the platform. Kent glared at the floor, jaw clenched, face bright red with humiliation. Rourke looked more rattled, face drained, eyes darting around at the cell phones pointed at him. Simone motioned to her team. "Separate them. Get their statements recorded. And make sure somebody calls CPD Internal Affairs. No delays." 2 marshals pulled Rourke aside. Another handled Kent. Neither officer resisted. Their confidence had evaporated the second federal badges hit the air. A small crowd remained near the train entrance. Not talking. Not interfering. Just watching. Capturing everything. A teenage boy pointed his phone at Marcus. "This is going viral, bro," he said softly. Marcus looked at him. No anger. No irritation. Just calm. "Make sure you post the full thing," he said. "Not the parts people like to cut." The boy nodded. "I got it all." Marcus gave a small nod back, then turned when Simone approached him again. "Walk with me," she said. They stepped away from the crowd and the officers, closer to the edge of the platform, where the cold tunnel wind rolled in waves. "You okay to debrief?" she asked. Marcus flexed his fingers. His shoulder burned where Rourke had pinned him. A dull ache pulsed across his ribs from Kent's shove. But he'd taken worse hits on worse nights. "I can debrief," he said. "Case first. Everything else later." Simone crossed her arms. "We'll handle both. The question is, do you still want to run point on the assignment?" Marcus didn't hesitate. "Yes." Simone sighed. "Thought you'd say that." Behind them, a train screeched into the station. Doors opened. Nobody boarded. Everyone stayed to watch the scene unfold. Marcus looked toward the far bench. "Where's our target?" "He never showed," Simone said. "And after tonight, he definitely won't come near this station for a while." Marcus nodded slowly. The fugitive, Terry Maddox, was a robber whose crimes turned more violent recently. The marshals had tracked him for weeks. This station had been their chance. Now the opportunity was gone, because two local officers needed to flex their authority on the wrong man at the wrong time. A wave of frustration rippled through him. He forced it down. He had a job to finish. "Simone," he said quietly, "you know the paperwork on this is going to be a nightmare." She smirked. "Oh, I'm aware." Marcus glanced over at the officers. One marshal read Ken's rights. Another questioned Rourke while recording. The commuters had grown bolder now that federal agents were present, snapping pictures, filming angles, whispering their disbelief. Simone motioned toward the crowd. "Public's on your side. That helps." Marcus shook his head. "It shouldn't have to." She didn't argue. She couldn't. He stepped closer to the tiled wall, ran his hand across the cold surface where he'd been shoved. The moment replayed in his head. The shove, the pressure, the yelling, the assumption. He took a slow breath. Steady, controlled. Simone watched him carefully. "You sure you don't want to go topside?" Fresh air. Marcus looked toward the officers again. "No, I want to hear what they have to say for themselves." Simone raised a brow. "Why?" "Because tonight, I want the truth out loud." The marshals brought the officers back together, still cuffed but not touching. Marcus approached slowly. The officers avoided eye contact. Like shame had weight. Simone stood beside him. Neutral face. Authority radiating off her. Marcus stopped a few feet away. Hands at his sides. Posture steady. Voice calm. "Why'd you stop me?" Kent swallowed. His throat bobbed. He kept his eyes on the floor. We got a call," he muttered, "about a man acting suspiciously." Marcus's tone sharpened. "What was the description?" Kent hesitated. Rourke shifted uncomfortably. Simone stepped in. "Answer him." Kent exhaled. "Male, black, standing alone at a train platform." Marcus stared at him. "That's not a description. That's a population." Rourke finally looked up, defensive. "I mean, come on, man, you look nervous." "You kept checking over your shoulder." Marcus tilted his head. "I was watching the stairwells." "For what?" Rourke demanded. Marcus paused, then answered simply, "My suspect." The officers froze. Simone added, "Marshal Hale was running a confidential surveillance operation. He was watching for a violent felon. Not you." Rourke's jaw fell open. Kent's eyes widened. Marcus leaned slightly forward. Still calm. Still measured. "You didn't ask questions. You didn't verify anything. You didn't de-escalate. You didn't observe. You reacted." Rourke shook his head. "We don't know who's dangerous out here." Marcus's tone softened, but somehow hit harder. "Neither do we. But we don't put our hands on people without cause. We don't escalate because we're uncomfortable. And we don't attack people just for existing." Kent looked like he might cry. He blinked hard and forced out, "I'm sorry." Marcus studied him. Long enough for the silence to sting. Simone finally stepped in. "Apologies don't undo what happened, but they're a start." A train announcement echoed overhead. Cold, mechanical, unbothered. The platform felt even colder now, like the city itself was listening. Marcus stepped back. Simone, let's finish processing. She nodded, already ahead of you. As she walked off, Marcus turned once more toward the crowd. Their eyes followed him, respectfully, quietly. One commuter whispered. That man held a composure better than anyone I've ever seen. Another responded. Because he's trained, and because he had to. Marcus didn't hear them, but he could feel the shift, the recognition. The truth is settling in the air. He closed his eyes for a second, breathing in, breathing out. When he opened them, he was ready for whatever came next. Subscribe and share. The platform felt different now. Still cold, still echoing, still lined with steel and tile. But something had shifted. A weight, a tension, a quiet that wasn't fear anymore, but awareness. Marcus stood near the center of the platform as the other marshals processed the two officers. Passengers gathered but kept a respectful distance. A few whispered. A few watched in stunned silence. But most recorded. Not for drama, not for entertainment, but because they knew what they'd just witnessed wasn't something that should ever get buried. Not again. Not this time. Simone returned with a clipboard, her breath fogged in the cold air. We've notified internal affairs, she said. They're sending someone down. Marcus nodded. He didn't look triumphant, not relieved, not proud, just steady, like he understood the gravity of the moment and wasn't letting it break his focus. What about Maddox? He asked. We've got eyes on 2 other stations, she said. But after what happened tonight, he's probably spooked. Marcus shook his head. Not spooked. Calculating. Simone raised a brow. You think he saw any of this? I think he always watches, Marcus said. He studies people. He listens. He learns patterns. Simone sighed. That makes him unpredictable. That makes him dangerous, Marcus corrected. Kent sat on the bench now, hands cuffed, head in his palms. His face was flushed, anger or embarrassment. No one could tell. Rourke stood nearby, back straight, jaw tight. He looked like a man still trying to convince himself he didn't do anything wrong. A marshal, Agent Torres, approached Marcus. We got their statements recorded, he said. They're inconsistent. Marcus nodded. Of course they were. Torres continued. Kent says they were responding to a suspicious person call. Simone snorted. And Rourke. He says they acted out of caution for officer safety. Marcus's expression stayed unreadable. But inside, a pressure started to build. He'd heard these excuses his entire career. Caution, suspicion, officer safety. Words twisted into shields. Into permission. Into justification. Simone leaned close. Marcus, you sure you want to stay on scene for the rest of this? He nodded. I need to hear everything. A woman wearing a long beige coat stepped forward hesitantly. She looked at Marcus with concern. Hi. I recorded what happened. If you need the video, I can airdrop it or email it. Marcus nodded gratefully. Thank you. We'll take it. Another commuter, a middle-aged man with broad shoulders, added, Those officers came at you fast. Too fast. You didn't do anything. Marcus studied him. You saw everything? Yeah, the man said. They yelled before they even got close to you. Simone pulled out her notebook. And you're willing to give a statement? The man nodded. Absolutely. More commuters stepped forward, one after another. Some are nervous. Some are angry. Some shaking. But all are willing to speak. A teenager said, They pushed him like he was trash. It wasn't right. A woman whispered, My son is his age. That could have been him. A man muttered, Never seen 2 officers apologize so fast once they knew who he was. Marcus kept his face still. But inside he felt something heavy shift. A reminder, a pattern, a truth every black law enforcement officer knows too well. Respect only comes once the badge is revealed. Before that, you're just another target. He swallowed quietly, steadied himself. Thank you all, he said. Your statements matter. Subscribe and share, someone murmured jokingly. Try to lighten the mood. A few people chuckled softly, but most didn't. It was too soon, too raw. Internal Affairs arrived 20 minutes later. 2 detectives, plain clothes, seriously, efficient. They walked straight to Kent and Rourke, asked them a series of rapid-fire questions, took notes, filmed the scene, measured distances, noted positions. Marcus watched quietly. He wanted to know if the officers would tell the same story, with IAs standing in front of them. They didn't. Kent broke first. He always would. He looked too soft for the weight of his mistake. I didn't think. I thought he was... Rourke snapped at him. Stop talking, Kent. IA Detective Marla Singh raised a brow. Let him talk. Kent exhaled hard. He fit the call. That's all. He fit the description. Marcus stepped closer. Calm. Controlled. Voice low. What description did I fit, Officer Kent? Kent froze. He swallowed. Black male. Marcus's jaw tightened slightly. And... That's it, Kent said defensively. That's all the caller said. Simone interjected sharply. That wasn't description. That was a bias. Rourke barked. Hey, don't accuse us of... You did that yourselves. Simone snapped. I stepped between them. Enough, Detective Singh said. We'll review the footage. There was plenty of footage. Marcus made sure of that, with Internal Affairs taking over. The platform slowly began to empty. The commuters finally drifted away. Trains resumed their rhythm. Announcements echoed overhead again, but the energy remained unsettled. A heaviness lingered. Marcus rubbed his shoulder gently. The pain settled deep. Annoying, persistent, but manageable. Simone approached. We'll escort these officers topside, she said. I want you to go home. Rest. Marcus shook his head. Not yet. Not until Maddox is caught. Simone sighed. Are you sure you're thinking clearly? Marcus met her eyes. Tonight didn't stop me. It just reminded me why I'm in this job. Simone studied him. I saw the determination, the fire, the focus. You're a hard man to argue with, she said. Always have been. Marcus looked down the long tunnel. Cold air pushed through. A distant rumble grew louder. Another train was coming. He took a slow breath. Let's regroup. If Maddox is still in the area, he'll shift patterns now. Simone nodded. Then we shift too. Before walking away, she added, and Marcus will make sure what happened tonight doesn't get swept under the rug. Marcus looked back at the wall where he'd been shoved. Hands in his pockets. Posture strong. It won't, he said. Not this time. He turned away as a train pulled in, headlights cutting to the tunnel like twin blades. A commuter stepped out, looked at the officers in cuffs. I looked at the marshals, looked at Marcus, whispered to another passenger, this whole city's gonna hear about this. Marcus didn't need to hear it, didn't need validation. I didn't need praise. He only needed justice. And justice wasn't finished tonight, not by a long shot. He stepped forward, preparing for the next stage of the hunt, preparing for Maddox, preparing for whatever came next, because the night wasn't over, and the case wasn't dead, just beginning. Subscribe and share. The subway platform finally settled. Internal Affairs escorted Kent and Rourke upstairs. The crowd dispersed. The trains returned to their mechanical rhythm, but Marcus remained. His shoulders still throbbed. His ribs pulsed with heat, but none of that mattered. He wasn't done. Not tonight. Not while Maddox was still out there. Simone rejoined him near the far end of the platform. Her voice dropped low. Surveillance teams found something. Marcus turned. What? She held up her phone. Screen angled down for privacy. A grainy security image. Timestamps from less than 30 minutes earlier. Marcus's eyes narrowed. Is that him? Simone nodded. Maddox, boarding a train on the Blue Line. Eastbound. Marcus exhaled sharply. The fugitive had been closer than he realized. Maybe watching. Maybe testing their movements. Maybe waiting to see how distracted the marshals were. The confrontation with the officers had cost them valuable minutes. Minutes Maddox could have used to slip away. But not far. Not yet. What's the next station? Marcus asked. Clark and Lake, Simone said. And we've already got Agent Torres heading that way. Backup's en route. Marcus checked the clock overhead. The train's fast. He'll reach the platform before Torres does. Then we'll beat him, Simone said. We take the next express. Marcus nodded. His pulse steadied. His focus sharpened. The operation was alive again. They boarded the next train as soon as its doors hissed open. The car was mostly empty. Just a few exhausted workers riding home. A couple sitting close, whispering. A man asleep against the window. Marcus took a seat near the door. Simone sat across from him, cross-legged, tapping her foot. She hated rushing. She hated chasing. But she hated losing suspects even more. The train lurched forward. Lights flickered briefly. Wind pressed through the tunnel. Marcus stared out the window, not at the reflection, but beyond it, past it, running through every possible angle, every possible escape route. Simone watched him. You good? She asked. Marcus nodded. Tonight's bigger than the stop, Simone. She tilted her head. How so? Because Maddox is unpredictable. He changes behavior when he senses pressure. Simone leaned back slightly. And you think he saw the commotion? Marcus shook his head. Not saw. He heard. Simone frowned. Explain. Maddox studies police patterns. Listens to scanner traffic. Listening to chaos. Listen to disruption. Simone's eyes widened slightly. You think the incident with those officers gave him a signal? Marcus nodded. A perfect one. Noise. Confusion. Unexpected delays. Uniforms are suddenly swarming the station. Simone exhaled sharply. He took advantage of it. Marcus watched the dark tunnel rush by. He always does. The train screeched into the Clark and Lake Station. Marcus and Simone stepped off quickly, scanning the platform. A cold draft swept through, lifting dust. A few riders rushed past them, coats flapping, eyes tired. Torres met them near the stairs. Nothing yet, he said. He's not here. Marcus looked at the clock. He passed through. He didn't stay. Simone pointed. Security cameras? Torres nodded. Already pulling the feeds. They walked toward a station booth where a transit employee nervously watched the screens. You the marshals? The employee asked. Transit control radioed ahead. Marcus approached calmly. Show us the last 15 minutes on cameras 2 through 7. The employee's fingers trembled slightly as he navigated the controls. Then footage appeared. Marcus leaned in. There. Maddox. Hood up. Shoulders tense. Stepping off the train. Looking around. Then walking quickly toward the upper exit. Torres pointed. He went topside. Simone pressed closer. Follow the exit feed. The employee switched cameras. Another angle. Then another. Finally Maddox appeared once more, jogging to the turnstiles, glancing back, checking for tails, then disappearing onto the street. Marcus exhaled through his nose. Okay, he's above ground now. Simone squared her shoulders. We split up. Marcus nodded. You take Torres and sweep the streets. I'll take the western exit and push toward Wacker. Simone hesitated. You sure you should be solo right now? After what happened? Marcus cut her off gently. That was earlier. This is now. She held his stare for a moment, then gave a single nod. Stay sharp. You too. Marcus climbed the stairs 2 at a time. Cold air hit him hard as soon as he stepped outside. Wind whipping between buildings. Sirens far in the distance. Street lamps flickering like they were tired too. Chicago at night had a rhythm, a pulse, a vibration that never stopped. But tonight it felt heavier, more alert, like the city itself knew something dangerous was running through it. Marcus scanned every corner, every alley, every shadow that moved. Maddox was fast, but Marcus knew the city grid better. He knew where fugitives hid, where they ran, where they blended in. A bus roared past. A taxi swerved. A group of college kids laughed too loud. But Marcus kept moving. Head low, hands in pockets, eyes scanning nonstop. He reached the intersection of Wacker and Lake. Traffic rushed by in thick waves. Car lights flashed across his face. He spotted a figure across the street, gray hoodie, head down, hands stuffed deep into pockets, walking too fast, looking too often over his shoulder. Marcus crossed immediately, shadowing him, pacing himself, keeping distance. A CTA bus hissed to a stop, blocking Marcus's view for a moment. When it rolled away, the figure was gone. Marcus's pulse jumped. He looked around, checked the sidewalk, the crosswalk, the building entrances. Nothing. Then, a reflection in a dark storefront window. Movement behind him. Not fast, not loud, but there. Subtle, calculated. He turned slightly. Only enough to see. Not enough to reveal he saw. A man leaning against the wall, pretending to use his phone. But his eyes kept flicking toward Marcus. Too often, too focused. A lookout Maddox would use. Marcus muttered under his breath. Okay, Maddox, I see your game. He touched his earpiece. Simone, I think I've got a spotter. Static. Then her voice. Location? Wacker, near the river bridge. Hold position, she replied. We're 2 minutes out. Marcus kept walking. Slow, natural, carefully drawing the lookout's attention. The lookout shifted, watching more intensely. Hands sliding into his pockets. Posture tightening. Marcus prepared himself. Ready, focused, calm. He whispered into the night. Come on, where are you, Maddox? Because if there was a lookout, Maddox wasn't far. And the real danger hadn't even started yet. Subscribe and share. The lookout kept his head down, pretending to scroll, pretending not to notice Marcus, pretending he wasn't part of something bigger. But everything about him screamed alertness. The shifting feet, the tense shoulders, the way he glanced up only when he thought Marcus wasn't looking. Marcus slowed his pace, let the cold wind wash over him. He'd been in situations like this too many times. On the street, in apartments, in warehouses, in the shadows of cities just like this one. Lookouts were predictable, nervous, impatient, and almost always sloppy. But not this one. This one looked disciplined, trained, like someone who had done this more than once. Marcus touched the small mic clipped inside his jacket. Simone, update. 2 blocks away, Simone replied. We got Torres and Mitchell with us. Don't engage until we're close. Marcus didn't respond right away. He watched the lookout's hands, the pockets, the shifting weight, the glances. Maddox's eyes. Marcus finally said quietly, he's close. Simone's voice sharpened. Marcus, wait for us. But the lookout moved, fast, swift, purposeful. He pushed off the wall and walked toward the alley at the corner of the block. Head down, hands hidden. Marcus followed, not directly behind, not obvious, but close enough. The alley was narrow, cold, lit by a single flickering bulb. Trash cans lined the sides. Steam rose from a vent on the brick wall. The lookout disappeared inside. Marcus stepped to the edge. Stopped. Listened. Soft footsteps. A whisper. Movement deeper inside. Not one person. 2. Maybe 3. Marcus lowered his voice. Simone, I've got activity. Inside the alley. Multiple individuals. Static. Then, hold. We're almost there. But Marcus could hear something else now. A voice. Sharp. Mean. Are you sure that's him? Another voice. Low. Gravelly. Trust me, Maddox wants eyes on him. Marcus felt his jaw tighten. They were watching him, tracking him, using the earlier incident as a distraction. He stepped back slightly, just enough to assess his surroundings, just enough to prepare for what was coming. He stayed close to the wall, breathing slowly, controlled, steady. The lookout reappeared at the mouth of the alley, eyes locking onto Marcus. He froze, then turned back into the alley, this time yelling, Yo! He's right here. Marcus reacted instantly. He backed away from the alley entrance, created space, hand hovering near his concealed holster. Two figures emerged. Hoodies up, faces shadowed, hands clenched, bodies tense, not holding weapons. Yet, but I'm ready. Too ready. Marcus's stance shifted automatically. Feet grounded, breathing steady, weight centered. He spoke calmly. Don't do this. The first man smirked. Oh, we're doing this. The second man added, Maddox wants you to slow down. Marcus's eyes narrowed. So he can escape. Exactly. The lookout chimed in behind them. You should have kept walking, man. Marcus raised one hand slightly. Not surrender, just a warning. You really don't want to take this path. Not tonight. The first man stepped forward. What are you gonna do? You ain't got backup. Marcus almost laughed. Backup? Backup was 2 blocks away. But that wasn't the point. He didn't need backup. Not for this. The first man lunged. A wild swing aimed at Marcus's head. Marcus moved like water. Smooth, precise, controlled. He sidestepped, grabbed the man's wrist, twisted, and drove him into the wall with a short, sharp motion. The man cried out, dropped to the ground, clutching his arm. The second man rushed in. Marcus blocked the punch with his forearm, then drove his elbow into the man's sternum. The attacker stumbled backward, gasping for air. The lookout tried to run. Marcus cut him off, stepped into the path with perfect timing. The lookout froze, eyes wide, fear replacing confidence. Marcus grabbed him by the jacket and slammed him against the brick wall. Not hard enough to injure, just enough to break his momentum. Whereas Maddox, Marcus demanded. The lookout shook his head violently. I don't know, he didn't tell us. He just said watch the station. Marcus leaned in closer. That's not an answer. The lookout stammered. I swear, he's moving around. He switches places. He said if cops show up, stall them. Footsteps echoed from the street. Fast, strong, purposeful. Marcus, Simone, Torres, Mitchell, the cavalry. They rushed in, weapons drawn, eyes scanning. Torres reached Marcus first. You good? Marcus nodded. Yeah. Mitchell cuffed the 2 attackers, still on the ground. Simone grabbed the lookout and pinned him. Where's Maddox? She snapped. The lookout shook his head. He's close. He's watching. He said if something goes wrong, we should get out. Simone pressed harder. Which direction? The lookout was swallowed. South toward the river. Simone looked at Marcus. Torres did too. Mitchell paused, all waiting for his call. Marcus stepped away from the wall, straightened his jacket, flexed a shoulder that still ached. He turned toward the dark street, toward the river, toward the hunt. Let's move, he said. Maddox is running out of city. The team formed up, focused, determined. As they moved out, Simone muttered quietly, It's about to be a long night. Marcus nodded once. Good. Because he was ready for a long. Ready for hard. Ready for whatever Maddox had planned. And the city? The city feels alive now. Alert. Waiting for something explosive. Something that was coming fast. Subscribe and share. Marcus led the team south toward the river. Wind whipped off the water, sharp and icy. Streetlights cast long shadows that cut across the pavement like blades. Chicago at night was loud, but this part of the Riverwalk felt too quiet, too still. A perfect place for a man like Maddox to move unseen. Simone walked on Marcus's right. Torres flanked the left. Mitchell scanned the rear. Every footstep echoed. Every distant horn blared louder than normal. Every shadow felt alive. Look sharp, Simone whispered. He knows we're close. Marcus nodded. He's not going to surrender. Not tonight. They reached the underpass by the river. Concrete pillars stretched upward. The water rushed below. Dark, cold, unforgiving. Torres raised a hand. Movement. 11 o'clock. The team froze. Marcus squinted. A silhouette leaned against the railing. Tall, thick jacket. Hood low. Watching them. Waiting. Maddox. Marcus stepped forward, voice steady. Terry Maddox. You're done running. Maddox pushed off the railing and faced him. A slow smile spread across his face. Marshal Hale, he said, I heard you had a rough night. Simone stiffened. Marcus didn't react. Maddox chuckled. You should thank those transit clowns. Would have spotted you earlier otherwise. Marcus kept walking, step by step, controlled, measured. You sent those guys after me, Marcus said. Wanted a distraction. Worked, didn't it? Maddox replied. Bought me time. Simone barked. Hands where we can see them. Maddox raised both hands slowly, but his smirk didn't fade. That cop stunt bought you 5 minutes, Marcus said. That's all. Maddox laughed quietly. 5 minutes is a long time in this world. Torres tapped his ear. Dispatch says there are no civilians nearby. Area's clear. Good. Marcus stepped even closer. For a moment, the wind died. The world softened. Just Marcus and Maddox. 2 men standing on opposite sides of the law. You made this messy, Maddox, Marcus said. You didn't have to. Maddox shrugged. Messy is how you survive. Mitchell's hand hovered near his weapon. Simone lowered her stance slightly, preparing. Marcus spoke again. You're boxed in. River behind you. Team in front of you. Every exit is blocked. Maddox smiled wider. That's where you're wrong. His hand moved, fast, reaching behind his jacket. Simone shouted, Gun! Marcus lunged just as Maddox drew. Maddox fired once, a loud, sharp crack that split the night. The bullet skimmed Marcus's coat, tore fabric, missed flesh by inches. Marcus tackled Maddox hard. They slammed into the railing. Metal groaned. The river churned below. Maddox swung wildly. Marcus blocked, countered, pinned Maddox's arm against the railing. Simone and Torres closed in. Mitchell moved to the flank. Maddox fought with everything he had. Wild, desperate, erratic. Marcus gritted his teeth, pressed harder, locked Maddox's wrist. The gun clattered to the ground. Enough, Marcus shouted. It's over, Maddox snarled. You think I'm going back? I'd rather. Marcus didn't let him finish. With one swift move, he brought Maddox down to the concrete, face pressed to the ground, arm pinned, breathing ragged. Torres cuffed him. Simone secured the weapon. Mitchell kicked it farther away. The fight drained out of Maddox instantly, like someone pulled the plug. Marcus exhaled slowly, deep, steady, relief washing through him. Simone knelt beside Maddox. You're done, Terry. You assaulted a federal marshal, opened fire, ran from custody. Maddox laughed bitterly. Story of my life. Marcus didn't respond, didn't celebrate, didn't gloat. He simply rose to his feet. I looked out at the river, felt the cold wind hit his face. I felt the weight of the night finally lift. Simone joined him. You good? Marcus nodded. Yeah, it's finished. She studied him. You sure? Marcus looked back toward the city skyline, lights reflecting off the water, sirens somewhere far away. Tonight reminded me of something, he said. That justice isn't clean. It's not smooth. It's not always fair. Simone nodded. True, but it's necessary, Marcus added, and it's worth fighting for. Simone placed a hand on his shoulder. We'll file the reports. IA has the footage. Those officers won't walk away clean. Marcus nodded. Good. Because what happened in that subway station, that wasn't going to be swept under the rug. Not with witnesses. Not with video. Not with federal marshals involved. Tonight's story wasn't about pain. It wasn't about humiliation. It wasn't even about the chase. It was about truth and accountability. And the reminder that even in a cold city like Chicago, justice still walked the platforms, still patrolled the alleys, still stood tall when challenged. And sometimes, justice wore the face of a quiet, determined black man who refused to break. Marcus looked back at the river one last time. Let's go, he said. Long night's over. Simone smirked. Until the next one. They walked away together. City lights glowing behind them. Cold wind chasing their backs. The case was closed. The fugitive was caught. And the officers who thought they had the right to assault an innocent man, their reckoning was just beginning. Subscribe and share.